All right, well, welcome back. This is section 5.4, and it's called Finding Percents Mentally. Now, for all of those of you who always hated showing your work, this is your section, because the idea here is we want you to do it in your head for this one. So, all those times that I've been hounding you about not doing it in your head and showing some work, now you can finally do it the other way. You can do it in your head. So, I don't want to see you do work on this. I want to see you be able to figure this out in your head as we go through this. All right, so let's take a look at this first part of this. And it says that below, we're talking about Roosevelt Middle School, and 50% of the 8th grade class are females, and they say, well, write 50% as a fraction. Now, most of you know, or you should know, that 50% as a fraction is 1/2. And so what we're trying to do is do ones that you know, and you can figure that out and then use that information to figure out a simple problem that goes along with it. So it says here, explain how you would find 50% of 104 without using a proportion. Well, if we know that 50% is 1/2, we know that we could take 1/2 times 104 to figure this out. And most of you can probably figure that out in your head. 1/2 times 50, or 1/2 times 100. That's not a very good color there. 1/2 times 100 is equal to 50. 1/2 times 4 is equal to 2, so it's 52. So 1/2 of 104 equals 52. Okay? So take a look at this next example. It says use mental math to find the number of females in the 8th grade class. Well, guess what? We just did that. We know that half of 104 is 52, so we know that there are 52 females in the 8th grade class. Now, question 4 says 25% of the 6th grade class play intramural basketball. So let's think about 25%. If you think of 25%, what fraction is that? And hopefully most of you remember that 25% is the fraction 1/4. And so if we say 1/4 of the 6th grade, and there's 84 6th graders, we want to figure out what percent. Now, if we're trying to do this in our head, now you could write it out, yes, but we're trying to do all this in our head. And let's think about, we're going to divide 4 into 84. Well, that's a pretty good number to divide into. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 4 goes into 4 1 time. So my answer is 21. Okay, so you guys, why don't you try this? Write this in your notes. Use mental math to find the number of students in the 6th grade who play intramural basketball. Well, I guess actually that one we just did, so I don't know why they asked us that again, but anyway. All right, so let's go on. So we're going to try to do some of these that are very, very simple in your head. All right, so what we're going to look for are ones like this. So take a look at this chart right here. And you'll notice that a lot of these are ones that we've done. So this is really the second time that you've looked at many of these fractions. So here's our fourths. Okay, we've got a fourth, a half, 3/4. I think most of you would know those and be able to do that. Fifths. Notice that all the fifths go by 20%. So 20, 40, 60, 80 as we go through there. Now the next ones are a little bit harder. The sixths are kind of hard, and we did those when we were memorizing our fractions. You should be able to get these middle ones. You should remember a third. You should remember 2/3. Now notice there's always a key right here. Notice how it says 33 1/3, 66 2/3. Well, those are my fractions that are over there. So that's kind of a nice reminder, I guess, for those. So we've got 1/6, 1/6, 5/6. Those are the harder ones. Those were always the harder ones that we did on our quiz that we had also. Then we've got the eighths, and the eighths go by, you know, they're 12.5%. 2/8 is actually a fourth, so that's, you know, 25%. There's another 12.5, 37.5, 62.5, 87.5 for 7/8. And then the tenths are pretty easy. Okay, tenths are pretty simple. Now this chart, you know, you can use it as you're doing the assignment, but it should be one of those things that you learn, that you know, so that you don't have to use this whenever you're doing these problems. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of examples here. Let's see if we can keep both of these things on the chart. It's on the wall at the same time. Probably not quite, but it says 20% of 45, and they want us to compute this mentally. Now, we did problems like this the other day in the last section, but you know, there we were using, you know, we were actually calculating those things out, and with it maybe a calculator or on paper or whatever. But in this one, they want us to do this in our head. So what we need to do is think about what is 20%. Well, 20% is a fifth. And now if we think of a fifth of 45, we should be able to think of 45 over 5. And we should be able to do that mathematically in our head and get 9. So, you know, we can know that the fractional form of 20% is a fifth. We should be able to calculate that out. Okay, on the second one, they say 33 1/3%. Well, here's my key, once again, that third. So make sure that you use that and say, well, what is a third of 93? And notice that they've given you a pretty easy problem again. You know, you can think of this as 93 over 3. The 3 goes into the 9 3 times. 3 goes into the 3 1 time. There's my answer, 31. Okay, so we're looking for those kind of problems. All right, so you guys, stop the tape, do these in your head. Shouldn't take you too long. Write them down in your notebook, and then we'll come back. All right, so you should have those figured out by now, and hopefully for the first one, you said 25% was 1/4. And so we're trying to find 1/4 of 32. 4 goes into 32 how many times? Well, it goes in 8 times. Okay, so that was A. For B, we've got, let's clear this off here a little bit and put up B over here. And so we want 12.5%. And 12.5%, once again, you got to think of that. Okay, what fraction is that? And if you don't know, you can look back, and I don't think we quite got it on the, oh yeah, we do, right here. Okay, so just barely made it on the screen there. 12.5% is 1/8. So what we're looking for is 1/8 of 160. Well, how many times does 8 go into 160? Well, 8 goes into 16 2 times, and then there's that 0, and so there's my answer, 20. And then our last problem right here is 80% of 45. So if we look at 80%, if we don't know this, we can always look these up. But once again, the object is to try to learn this stuff. So if we have 4/5 of 45. Okay, so you know, I would probably try with this problem, try to reduce it down first. So I'm going to take this 5 into 45 because I think that's going to be easier to do that first. So 5 goes into 45 9 times. So then I'm thinking 4 times 9. 4 times 9 is 36. So I can do all this in my head if I kind of do it the right way. It's a little more complicated if I multiply 4 times 45. I can do it that way. 4 times 45 gives me 180. And then I divide by 5 is 36. But those aren't as easy numbers for me to remember. So always try to find the key, the easiest way to do the problem as you're trying to go through it. Okay, so let's move on now. Let's close that.